1 year. So, well, it's been a year and a couple days now. It's been over a year. I've had my Lowrance Ghost, and so this is going to be the start of the review. Because I've done, a review of the purchase, and I don't think I put an install video out. I actually filmed it. I just never put it out. There's, excuse me. But I did a review, then I did a pros and cons, like post review after using it, because I had some, there were some things that went on. And this is the year review. I've had it for a year. I have literally taken it all over the country. I've taken it off, in some really rough water, and went through, I'm talking about rough water from, some really nasty days when people they wouldn't go out on the water, and I did. And some days when walleye boats were coming in and I went out. But then I also trailered that thing around. So that's a lot of people don't think about this. Okay, so your trailer, and it should be secured, right? Well, here's the thing. Just like your trailer, if you're going all over the country, things rattle, things get knocked around. And that's the same thing even with your trolling motors, because it's bolted on there and it has its own whatever components that are, bolted onto itself. So that is another thing I'm going to go over, because nobody talks about that one. And granted, yeah, you need to go over these things when you're done every trip, especially if you're traveling like I do with the boat. But so I'm going to go over some of that, and we'll see if I really either regret my purchase after a year, or would I do it again. Now, I'm going to take in a couple considerations. One, durability and reliability, and functional use of this, the Ghost, as compared to some of the other trolling motors I've had, which I've had, the Fortrex, and I haven't had any other one with spot lock, but the Fortrex was super reliable. I mean, I lost pieces off of it. I had it for 6 years. The thing, pieces come off. I didn't even know where they went, but by God, that thing latched in and it worked no matter what. I've chipped it. I did all kinds of things with the Fortrex, and it was as, advertised. It was awesome. Great trolling motor. And I sold it to somebody, and I ended up taking a wash on it because of the shipping, but hopefully they can put that to good use. It was, like I said, it was missing pieces. Like, there's pieces coming off, and I didn't even know where they're going. The bolts, and the thing just operated as if it didn't even need it. It was pretty amazing, but it was over 6 year, time span. But anyway, I'll go into, I'll compare it pretty much to that, and from what I've seen from some other trolling motors, because I have been on other people's boats that have like Ultrix or whatnot. And from what I've heard of, the Garmin system. But we'll go to that. And then also company support, because there were some things I had to take that trolling motor in. I sent it in once because of an issue, and we'll get into that. And we'll go into Lowrance, because that is part of when you buy a trolling motor or a fish finder or anything, now you're in some sort of pseudo relationship with that company, because if you need support, unless you have some kind of third party out there, you're more than likely going to have to go to that company or some kind of representative of that company. But anyway, we're going to get to it, and we're going to zoom around it, and I'll show you some things, because I'm missing a couple pieces off the trolling motor after this year. But anyway, stay tuned. So as you can see, here's the head. We'll go into the magnets in there, but not too much going on there. There's the hydraulic. I actually had an issue with that, and that happened a deployment. Even with the strap on, it undid the strap. It was pretty rough water, couldn't stop. There you see that rub wear right there. There used to be a piece of, I guess, however they make it, aluminum, or their frame, whatever the metal they use there. There are two pieces you can see on the other side. I'm going to show here. There's a little wear on that. That's just from normal up and down action. But there, I'll show it again on the other side. So there's the wear mark where there was a piece of metal there. That broke on the first outing in a little bit of rough water. That cable deal is pretty awesome. It keeps the cables out of the way. And just having the cables, that management system is pretty nice. Up top, so you can see there is that rusty bolt. I don't know, you'll see it here in a second. I put that in there. I got to take it out, but from traveling, the actual bolt that comes with it rattled out on even though I checked it just before we went on the road, going down a 25-mile dirt road, really rattled it out, couldn't find it, so I just improvised and put that in there. Another look at that place where those two pieces of metal broke. It hasn't affected the performance whatsoever, so that's a good thing. but it was worrisome that right off the bat something did break off the frame. So we're gonna go over the cons first, and I did this in another video, but this the year afterwards. So the biggest issue I had with this trolling motor was when I first got it. I took it out once, worked perfectly. Went to another lake, and granted, it was I don't know what happened to it exactly. What changed? Nothing really changed because it came from the factory this way. But I was out on the lake and it stopped holding its spot, and I tried recalibrating and didn't do anything. Then when I went to retract it to put it up out of the water, the autocorrect or the auto stow wouldn't work. It was offset by 90 degrees, and you try to mess around with it. Finally, I twisted it to get it home. Got a hold of Lowrance, and they wanted me to send it in. So I sent it in to them, and they, just as in the beginning of the COVID stuff. So I mean, I got to give them a little bit of leeway there, but they kind of lost the trolling motor. Then it was at one of the engineer's house, which is cool. And I finally got a hold of him after attempting to get a hold of Lowrance for a while, and he explained to me, which the guy was really cool, and he did a great job. He explained that when they're in the factory, there's magnets that are overlaid on each other in that head unit. You've seen in the video, that's where I started off, where the Lowrance emblem. And if they are put in the wrong way, they'll end up offsetting as such, and you'll get that where your auto stow doesn't work, or you won't be able to hold it. Your pedal won't be aligned with your trolling motor. So he fixed it, got it back to me. Luckily, I hadn't sold my old trolling motor, so I had that on there. Got it back, works perfectly. So that was I guess that was the biggest issue. And I say that because then it's harder, you can't operate like that. Other issues you can get away with it, and still that trolling motor will work. That kind of puts you out of the game. Second issue that I had was the actual frame, the mounting system there. So on the first outing I had with this thing was on Lake Havasu, and it was pretty rough water. I was down in the southern end of the lake, and I mean, I couldn't stop. It was that bad. There wasn't anybody else on the water, and I went out just to try to find little areas just in case whether I was in a tournament. Anyway, I'm coming back. I can't stop, and it literally rips the strap, and the thing is almost getting ready to deploy. It's bouncing back and forth. It's loosening up the little rod, the stabilizing rod. And luckily, it wasn't that much of a drive, so I got back in, and it didn't deploy then, thankfully. So I look at it, and I didn't notice it until I got back to where I was staying at the hotel, and some of the little metal, I found two little metal pieces. I was like, man, I know because it's the color that these belong to this trolling motor. Finally, you could see it in the video, or the part of the video I just showed before. Little rub wears, they go on that little bar as it deploys. So somehow it broke them off. That was a little disconcerting to me, but after going out, it didn't really affect the performance at all. So luckily that didn't. But there you go. The durability of that wasn't the greatest thing in the world. Then, so the third one, and it goes back to their frame or mounting system there, was I was on another lake and I had it strapped in, and that strap just hit in rough water. I was in rough water. Granted, I know the average guy doesn't do 5-6 foot rollers, but in some of these places where I'm doing this, it's like you just can't stop and fix the trolling motor. Well, I happened to be this time, it was pretty bad, but there's also other boats on the water, so I got a cross wave, hit a real nasty wave, and I mean I had kids with me too, so I mean I was wham, and I came down, and it throws the trolling motor, breaks through that strap and deploys, and it jacks up that hydraulic system, and it bent out the little deals as you can see in the video. I was able to fix that, put that together, and it works perfectly now. But I never had that problem with the Fortrex, and I took my Fortrex in some even rougher water where I couldn't. There's no way if I'd have stopped, I'd have been gone. You just had to keep going. So if that had deployed, it would have been possibly threatening. If anything, just let it rip off the front, I guess. But anyway, so I saved that and got that fixed, and now it works fine. The fourth one, which is not very critical, so I always check my bolts before I go on the road, because some of the places I do fish, dirt roads, and there could be washboardy. especially out west. There's some places just real washboard. It's really bad on a trailer and your vehicles in general. In fact, one time I had a wheel bearing go out in a truck, and luckily I made it back into town. But anyway, so I was out there, checked everything, left. It's a few hours to get to this place. Go down, get to fish. Didn't even realize it, but then I come back on and hey, that their bolt is gone. That locks in your trolling motor so you can adjust the shaft length. And I was like, oh man, well that's not really a huge deal. I mean, I could call Lowrance, get another one, but I went ahead and just dropped by an auto parts or auto store, threw one in, and I'll have to go replace it with like a stainless steel one, but because you can see it's kind of rusted. But that's not a huge deal. But it's just a piece that came out, and I've had pieces off the Ford Trex and my Minn Kota stuff go too, and it's been operational, and it is operational. I'm just glad I didn't lose the little locking piece. Other than that, just the typical wear and tear. When you deploy and retract it, it rubs on the side of the barrel or the motor itself. And that's really, I guess the final thing. So this was kind of interesting, and it's easily preventable, is when you can operate this trolling motor off of your Lowrance units. So if you accidentally, even when it's not deployed, which I don't think it should, and maybe that's just a fault of the one I have, but when it's stowed and you actually touch one of the buttons, like go to here or on or whatnot, it'll start moving. It'll do the funky chicken on the front deck, and you're like, what is going on? Is it malfunctioning? Where in fact you've actually just touched the button on your Lowrance unit. Not a big deal. I mean, just try not to touch the buttons. Foot pedal, I have nothing bad to say about that. So let's go on to the good stuff. So the good stuff is, what I liked about it is, one, the efficiency of this thing is incredible. Doesn't put when I get back to plug in, my batteries aren't completely drained even after a windy day, which is pretty awesome. Secondly, if one of my batteries goes down, I can operate on a 24 volt system and still have pretty good performance. It puts out. So that brings me to the third thing. The power is pretty awesome. Having spot lock, the spot lock isn't as precise as I'd like it to be, because sometimes it's maneuvering all over the place, but once you get used to it and know how to use it, it works pretty good. Fourth thing, it looks cool. It's an awesome thing. I mean, I can see how it is fairly durable. I think it will only get better hopefully in time. And the integration with that and the Lowrance units is pretty awesome, because I could sit there and I can actually spot lock from my Lowrance unit, or I could send to a waypoint, and the thing goes. It's pretty good. It's pretty awesome. So there's that. With the foot pedal, that's cool too, because you can, the foot pedal is very ergonomical, at least for me it is, and it works very well. Haven't had any issues with it. The power button there is pretty cool, how you can change it from 24 to 36. Check your battery status. It's not awesome. The spot lock on it's cool. The constant's cool. Sometimes I actually push the constant when I'm trying to trying to just give it a little thrust here, and it goes. But that's that's my own fault. And then the ability to hook up your power poles, that's pretty awesome as well. So the integration part of that is great. So overall, what do I say about this Ghost? I'm not regretting the purchase. Let's put it that way. It's awesome. And then now that I run Lowrance units and I run power pole, having that all like I said, integrated is great, and it's really helped me fishing wise, and it's going to play a key role in the upcoming season. So would I buy a Ghost again? Yes, especially if I have Lowrance units and are going to get like their new active target or whatnot. Might as well just get the whole system, right? So yeah. So now that we're in this realm of specific brands, if you run Lowrance units, or you like the way you run the Lowrance in the front and back for whatever particular reason, even if you run other units, the Ghost is pretty awesome, and they have the controller system on there, so it's good. It's not a purchase I regret whatsoever. In fact, I like it. Now we'll see what other brands, if the Ultrix come out with like a brushless motor like Lowrance has, that could be another way to push and pull. It just depends on what's going on. But yes, I would purchase it again. Anyway, like, subscribe this, share if you can. Check out the Patreon, because we're going to start putting a lot of things up on there. And then check out some of my tournament seasons right around the corner, and within literally a few weeks. and it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be awesome. We're trying to do a lot more filming. But anyway, I'll talk to you later. Peace.